Good morning, Shabbat Shalom. It is Saturday, December the 22nd, 2018. I don't know if my music might be too high here. Good morning, guys. I'll be having my Sabbath walk later today, but I have a teaching I wanted to do. This is from Numbers chapter 2 and Genesis 48 and 49. It's about the 12 tribes of Israel and their sort of prophetic significance. Now I want to make it clear at the outset that we don't need to worry about which tribe we're grafted into. Yahshua, the Messiah, will sort that out when we get resurrected on that seventh trumpet resurrection, what the Christians call the rapture. But on that seventh trumpet resurrection, on some future Yom Teruah or Feast of Trumpets, we'll be caught up to be with him in the sky, and all the dead Messiah and those who are alive and remain will be caught to be with him. And he'll sort us out as to which tribe we're in. But there's some really interesting information about these 12 tribes and how they were set up, and I just felt moved to share this with everybody, and hopefully it will bless you. So in Numbers chapter 2, we see the setup, and just so you guys know the directions, I'm going to do north up here, west, east, and south. That'll be my compass there. So west, north, east, and south. And remember, Yah said that promotion comes neither from the east, nor the west, nor from the south, but from, the north. And he's on the side of the north, so remember that. Remember that Yahshua said, as lightning comes from the east to the west, so shall the Son of Man come. So he's going to burst from the eastern sky with all of us resurrected saints behind him. On Revelation 19. So remember those two types of concepts as I go through this. Okay, so we have the Tabernacle of Moses in the center of the camp. And this is why, while they're traveling eastward toward the Promised Land from Egypt, right? So this is the Tabernacle of Moses right here. It's in the very, very center. And the first camp that they list, and there's 4 camps. And each of these camps have 3 tribes in it, which, by the way, is based off, there's 4 walls to the New Jerusalem, and there's 3 gates made of 1 pearl, and each one corresponds to one of the tribes of Israel and also one of the 12 apostles. But this is kind of the original setup here. So we first have the camp of Judah. Now remember, Judah was the 4th born. He was the 4th born, and yet he's the one that's listed first, because Yahshua, Jesus the Messiah, comes from Judah. HallaluYAH. Judah's the lawgiver. So Judah is listed. The camp of Judah is listed first. And in the camp of Judah, we have, of course, remember there's 12 tribes. The very first one they list, of course, is Judah. These would be what we would call the Jews. Judah. Yahshua, Jesus, came from the tribe of Judah. As did Judas Iscariot, by the way. If you haven't seen my teaching, The Real Son of Perdition, go watch that. All right, so in Judah, they have a total of 74,600 fighting men there in Judah. Of course, not counting women and children, just the men 20 and over. And it's interesting, they're on the east side. And remember, Yahshua said he would come from the east. Again, he's the 4th born, but he's listed first. The very first tribe listed. Then they list Zebulun, right next to Judah, and Zebulun are sea dwellers. You can read about this in Genesis when when Israel blesses his sons. But they live by the haven of the sea. They're sea dwellers, haven at the sea. And then next to them is Issachar. Now Issachar is real interesting, because if you go to, where's my Bible? If you go to 1 Chronicles, I think it's, what did I do with my Bible? I just had it. Oh, here it is. If you go to 1 Chronicles, let me see if I can find it here. I think it's 12:32. Yeah, 1 Chronicles 12:32, it says, "And the children of Issachar, which were men that had understanding of the times, to know what Israel ought to do." So these were sort of the prophets. They understood the times, they could advise Israel, so kind of a prophetic tribe here, so the prophets. So look at this. You got Judah, the prophets, and those that dwell by the sea, all in one camp. And they're all, And Issachar has, oh wait, I'm skipping here. So Zebulun, the sea dwellers have 57,400 men, 20 and over. And Issachar has 54,400 men total. Okay? So the sea dwellers, the tribe that Yahshua came from, and the prophets, they're all on the east side. Remember, Yahshua will come from the east. He'll burst from the eastern sky. So this is all considered, this whole thing right here is considered the camp of Judah. And it says their total amount is 186,400. They're the biggest camp of all the 4 camps I'm going to go over. This is the biggest one. And they're the ones that go first. They're the first rank. So they would lead as they're going eastward toward the promised land from Egypt. They would lead. So this is the first rank. So anyway, I think that's really interesting. Okay, so now it's basically going clockwise as Yah describes this. We're going clockwise. As time goes forward, we're going clockwise. Okay, so now the next one they list is Reuben, and he's on the south. Now again, promotion comes from the north, so the opposite is the south. And Reuben is he's the firstborn, but if you read in Genesis, he kind of gets a curse. If you go to Genesis, where Jacob, or Israel as we should call him, his name was changed to Israel because he overcame. But as Israel is blessing his children, Reuben is the firstborn, but he's unstable as water. Again, this is from Genesis 48 and 49. If you're wanting to look this up, and then Numbers chapter 2 is where I'm getting this, the order of the tribes from. So it says, Reuben, you are my firstborn, my might and the beginning of my strength, the excellency of dignity and the excellency of power, but you're unstable as water. You shall not excel, because you went up to your father's bed and you defiled it. And you went up to my couch. So he won't excel, not excel. So he kind of has a curse. So that's kind of interesting because that's on the south. Now, eventually Reuben will be redeemed, just like all these 12 tribes will. I want to make that clear. And he does have excellency of strength and everything, but he's unstable. He's unstable. He won't excel. And so Reuben, his tribe is 46,500. Okay, so quite a bit smaller than the fourth-born Judah. Hallelujah. Okay, and then with Reuben, we also have Gad is listed with Reuben. I'm going to run out of room here. Gad. And Gad has 45,650 men. And Gad is interesting. It says they're initially overcome. So it sounds bad, but then they overcome at the last. So they're overcome, but then they become overcomers. So that might be a prophetic thing about the children of Gad. And then along with Reuben is listed Simeon, who also kind of receives a curse as well. Simeon has 59,300, so pretty big. But Simeon and Levi were both kind of got cursed. It says, Simeon and Levi are brethren, instruments of cruelty are they in their habitations. O my soul, come not now into their secret, unto their assembly, mine honor, be not thou united. For in their anger they slew a man, and in their self will they dig down a wall. Cursed be their anger, for it was fierce, and their wrath, for it was cruel. I will divide them in Jacob and scatter them in Israel. And they're not even in the same, Simeon and Levi are not even in the same tribes, or in the same encampments. But, Simeon and Levi, they took vengeance on their sister Dinah, even though this man was honorable and wanting to marry Dinah, and they wanted to be, grafted into Israel. Simeon and Levi, you can read about in the scriptures, they took matters into their own hands, and they wind up murdering a bunch of men, and Jacob had to leave. Anyway, so they got a curse for that. So Simeon got cursed for that, being an instrument of cruelty. Simeon and Levi. Instruments of cruelty. Okay, so this whole thing here is considered the camp of Reuben. And they're the second rank, which means these guys would move first, then these guys to the south would move, okay? And then It takes a break from all these camps, and it talks about the tribe of Levi, which surrounds the tabernacle, because they were the priests, right? They were the priests, appointed priests. So even though they got cursed, look, they got to be priests to minister to the temple. So again, Yah is always in the act of redeeming these tribes. He always wants to redeem mankind. That's his preference. So Levi is not counted. It's uncountable. Yah specifically says, don't take a tally of these guys, which I think is interesting, because in Revelation 1 it says that we are a nation of kings and priests. Uncountable. So maybe this was a foreshadow of the uncountable nation of kings and priests. But Levi is not to be counted. So we don't know what the population of Levi was, but they literally surrounded the tabernacle right all around as they did the ministry of the tabernacle. So this guy would be first rank, the camp of Judah, then the camp of Reuben would be second rank, and then the Levites would start moving with them, and the tabernacle would move as well. And of course, the pillar of fire and smoke was always on the tabernacle. Fire by night, smoke by day, to show them where to go. Okay, so the total amount of Reuben, the camp of Reuben, is 151,450. So pretty big, but not as big as the camp of Judah. Judah is 186,400. This one's 151,450. So the biggest is here, and we'll figure out when I do the other four, we'll figure it out. Okay, so now we're going to go to the west side. So now it goes to the west side, and this is Ephraim, known as the camp of Ephraim. And remember, Ephraim and Manasseh were the two sons of Joseph, and Ephraim was the younger, Manasseh was the older. But if you read in Genesis, I think it's 48, you'll see that even though Jacob was supposed to bless the older Manasseh with the greater blessing, that's the custom, he switched his hands. And at first Joseph was like, "What are you doing, Father?" And Jacob said, "Don't worry, I know what I'm doing." So Ephraim, even though he was the younger, he got the greater blessing. He said he would become a great nation, and many nations would come out of him. So Ephraim was going to be extremely populated. Ephraim's, at that point, was only 40,500, so still, not as big as some of these tribes. But Ephraim was 40,500, and it was prophesied, and I'll just read it here, that many nations would come. Ephraim, his younger brother, shall be greater than Manasseh, his older brother, and his seed shall become a multitude of nations. And Manasseh will also become a people and be great, but Ephraim will become a multitude of nations. So a multitude of nations is Ephraim. And then, of course, listed with Ephraim is his brother Manasseh, who also becomes great, but not as great as his younger brother. And Manasseh is only 32,200. So even here, this early on, you already see that Manasseh is smaller than Ephraim, just like Jacob prophesied hundreds of years before. Hallelujah. And then listed with both of these is Benjamin. Benjamin is known as the tribe of the wolf. Benjamin has 35,400 men. So a pretty small tribe. But Benjamin's promise is, shall ravine as a wolf. In the morning he shall devour the prey, and at night he shall divide the spoil. So they're wolves, they're warriors. And remember, later in history, that tribe of Benjamin almost became completely decimated because they did a horrible thing in raping a Levite daughter. A lot of homosexuality had gotten into this tribe as well, and just brutality, sexual perversion. And so all the other tribes attacked Benjamin, and Benjamin almost got reduced to nothing. In fact, they almost got wiped off the face of the earth, and then, they repented, and they slowly repopulated and built back up. And then, so this is known as the tribe of Ephraim, right here. And their total is 108,100. So quite a bit smaller than, this is 186,000, this is 151,000. This tribe is quite a bit smaller, and they're on the west, so they're coming sort of from behind. And then we got the sides of the north. I'm gonna have to erase my compass here so I can do the sides of the north. Where's my, sorry guys, I should have been more. So the sides of the north, and even though promotion comes from the sides of the north, they're the last ones to go in terms of the marching order. So first rank, second rank, the Levites would then move with the tabernacle, third rank fall behind, and then these guys would come. So the first shall be last, the last shall be first. So this is known as the tribe, the camp of Dan. So we got the camp of Judah, the camp of Reuben, the camp of Ephraim, and now we have the camp of Dan. So Dan is listed first. And they have a really big one. It's 62,700. It's almost the biggest tribe. It's not as big as Judah. Judah's the biggest one, but it's the second biggest tribe. And Dan has an interesting prophecy. It says they'll judge. They'll be judges. They'll judge his people. He'll be a serpent by the way, an adder in the path that biteth the horse's heel, so that his rider shall fall backward. I have waited for your salvation. So judgment and salvation of the tribe of Dan. Now Dan, this tribe got completely removed because they got into apostasy early on. And they started making up their own thing rather than following the Levites. And so this tribe got completely removed. But what's interesting is, if you keep reading in the prophets, when you get to the new heavens and new earth, Dan is completely restored. It's back. So that's kind of cool. It's not mentioned in the 144,000 because that's during the Great Tribulation and Dan has still not been restored. But when we get to the new heavens and new earth, when we get to the, I think the millennial kingdom as well, Dan is restored. But they're judges and salvation. HallaluYAH. And then listed with Dan is Naphtali. Sorry, I'm running out of room here. Naphtali has 53,400. And Naphtali is a hind let loose. They give goodly words. So they're like the poets and the writers. Goodly words. That's Naphtali. And then listed with also them is Asher. And Asher is 41,500. And these guys, Asher is real interesting too. They're sort of the food makers. It says, out of Asher his bread shall be fat, and he shall yield royal dainties. So they're the bakers and the food makers. So this whole thing is considered the tribe of Dan, and they're also really big. They're 157,600 is the camp of Dan. So they're not as big as Judah, but they're bigger than Reuben. They're obviously bigger than the tribe of Ephraim. So they're the second biggest right here. So I think that's interesting as well. So anyway, I think all these have prophetic significance in the end times, and even beyond the Great Tribulation, when you get into the millennial kingdom, the 1,000-year reign of Messiah, and also the new heavens and new earth beyond that. I think this all has a lot of significance. But I wanted to do this. Sorry, it got so messy up here. But just to summarize, you got the camp of Judah on the east. Of course, Yahshua is going to come from the east. They're the first rank. They're the ones who lead all the children of Israel, along Zebulun and Issachar, the prophets, and the sea dwellers are with them. And then you got Reuben. Okay, he kind of was cursed. Simeon was cursed too. Gad is originally overcome, but they eventually become overcomers, and they're on the south. They're on the south, and they're the second rank. And then you got the tribe of Ephraim, Manasseh, and Benjamin. Of course, Ephraim and Manasseh are the sons of Joseph. Ephraim becomes a seed of many nations. Manasseh is also great, but not as big as his brother. And Benjamin is the wolves and the warriors, and they're the third rank. So first rank moves, second rank moves. The Levites, which are uncountable, the priests, they then transport the tabernacle. Then these guys follow from behind. And then the final rank is the tribe of Dan. The judges, salvation, and the food makers and the poets and writers are with him. And they go last. So I hope this ministered to you. I hope this blessed you. I just think it's really neat. Again, this is from Numbers chapter 2 and Genesis 48 and 49. All right, y'all bless you guys. Shabbat shalom.